What is going on, YouTube family? It is your boy Al with the Heavy Hitter Bully Crew, and we are back with another lit video for you guys. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 tips for new American Bully creators. You are new, you want to get into the community, you want to have your business come right off the ground running, and I'm going to be giving you my top 5 tips from my perspective, being that I'm now going on this game for 3 years and I've been building my kennel and building things. I feel like these tips will really help you, and most importantly, maybe we'll show you, am I really built to breed the American Bully? So with that being said, please don't forget to like, comment, and sub to the channel. Check off the bell notification icon to become part of the family. With that being said, let's get into the video. So my first tip, and these are in no specific order, but I will say to stay tuned throughout the duration of this video to catch my most important tip. So with that being said, my first tip is going to be to study the bloodlines and traits you want to build your program around, while also developing an understanding of what a pedigree is and how the pedigree plays a role in your breeding program, because you have to understand when you bring in one of these foundational dogs, this is going to be what you build your program around. So once you've made the decision of which class you want to breed, whether it's going to be a pocket, standard, classic, XL, whatever the case is, from there, now you're going to look into the bloodlines. And let's say, for example, you want a dog that has a lot of muscle, that bullier-esque dog, you're going to be looking at the Gotti bloodline dogs. The Gotti bloodline dogs are going to be giving you that big head, that big neck, that muscle, that bone, all of those things that you're looking for. However, the drawback to them is they're not as clean as you would like them to be. Now, let's say you go through the Razor's Edge end. Razor's Edge is going to have a little bit less on the substance end, but they're going to have fantastic conformation. They're going to hold really true to the American Bully look. Now, with that being said, you could go the route of whatever it is that you want. These are just examples. Now, for example, let's say you want to breed the pockets, and what's hot now is the Rocco blood, which stems from Dax. If you're not too familiar with Dax, I'm actually going to be making a video for that, and there's plenty of videos on Dax online. But the Dax blood is the OG Gotti blood. That's what's giving them that look. And obviously they've built through it over the years. So Khan right now is producing that consistent look with his camp. Now let's say, for example, you want to go a little bit more extreme. We're talking about crazy, and that's where all the controversy comes in. You're going to be looking at muscle tone bullies. And I'm just going to be honest with you, anything muscle tone bullies is throwing, they're going to throw the consistent mass, the spread, and the dome piece. Now, whatever the drawbacks are from that, I'm just using them for an example. Now let's say you don't want to get into the extreme bully, that extreme pocket with all that mass on that small frame, but you want something a little bit more cleaner, something that's a little bit more functional. Now you're going to be looking at anything that's produced off of Grand Champion Waffle House. Grand Champion Waffle House has thrown amazing dogs. His resume is untouched. We all know what he's contributed to the community. Now, another kennel that I would say to tap into that has the health route on pack, the confirmation point on pack, and a great breed type look into Wayne Gold's kennels. The owner of that is Tony Gold. Tap in with him because his dogs are amazing conformation wise, and most importantly, they're healthy dogs, functional dogs. That is something that you may want to look into when getting into the community. Now, don't get it twisted, I'm just using these for examples right now. There's plenty of other good programs out there, but these are just to get you into the door, and hopefully you start searching in the right direction. So let's get into tip number 2. So my second tip is understanding that this isn't a quick money bag scheme. This takes time, and it's a very long, expensive process to be able to run a successful kennel and breeding business. And I say all of this because you have to understand that at the end of the day, this is a business. In order for you to do this successfully, you have to treat this as if you're a CEO of a company. So you have to understand what ROI is, return on investment, and you also have to understand what your costs are going to be yearly to run a kennel. And if you don't have full-time employment where your bills are taken care of with a job that can also provide to you the financial flexibility to be able to breed these dogs the right way, this could put you in an avalanche very fast, and you could be consumed in debt at literally the speed of light like this. So that is why it's so important to understand that this is very expensive, that at any time anything could go wrong. Your dog may need surgery at this point, or your dog may have this happen to them, and now you have to go bring them to the vet. You never know what could happen, and breeding in itself is very expensive. When we're talking about, let's say you want to do the C-section, artificial insemination, or surgical insemination, whatever the case is, progesterone test, you can see how now all of these things add up. So before you know it, before you even have 1 litter of pups, you could be down almost 25, 30 grand. And if you don't have that, you're gonna be consumed in debt literally at the speed of light. like this. So with that being said, to offset this, and I'm gonna be giving you from my personal experiences, my advice. Number one, save a lot of money. Whatever you can at any given point, you need to have expenses that you could tap into, God forbid something was to happen. So that's number one. Number two, you need to get insurance on your dogs. Now, the insurance aspect really does help, because let's say your dog is younger and your dog goes through something for the first time, the insurance will pick that up. You have to get your dogs on insurance. I don't care how much it costs monthly to pay. However, when shit hits the fan, you're gonna be grateful that you have that insurance, because you never know what could happen. And let's say, for example, something massive happens. Next thing you know, you have a $10,000, a $15,000 procedure that needs to go down. If you have an insurance that's covering 100% or 90%, that is all covered under the insurance. And that's gonna help you a ton. So I'm only saying that because of what I've been through. So now we're talking about costs. You have to understand how much it's gonna be yearly to run your kennel. Because remember, you have X amount of dogs that you have to provide for, which means that you have to take care of them, which means you have to feed them. How much food are you gonna be giving them? Are you gonna be feeding them dry food, kibble, or are you gonna be feeding them raw food? And if that's the case, you have to get that whole raw food supplement thing on Smash, where you can have it operate very efficiently, because these dogs eat a lot, especially if you're breeding XLs, and you need to be able to provide for them. So with that being said, you also have to cover your breeding fees. And a lot of that is what people don't talk about, because everyone talks about it's a quick bag, and people think that they can make the money that Bashar has made selling dogs for $1 million, or like what Bossy Kennels is doing, selling first picks for 75 grand. It takes a lot of time to be able to get into that. You get what I'm saying? You're not getting that overnight. You have to work your tail off to be able to get to that. But you have to understand the cost that it takes to be able to run all of that. You have to understand this. When you're talking about having a program that has 20 dogs, how are you gonna feed all of them? Breeding, expenses. So now you have to start really looking at this like this is a legitimate business. So with that being said, that wraps up tip number 2. Let's get into tip number 3. So my third tip is gonna be to do your homework on what the American Bully is supposed to look like and what the breed standard is. And I say this because it is important for you to understand that you are breeding the true American Bully. People get this misconstrued because people are misguided coming in right away. Some people think that this is what an American Bully is supposed to look like, or that's what it's supposed to look like, when it's completely incorrect. You need to do your homework. Look at the dogs that have won Best in Show at Nationals, and look at the dogs that have contributed to the foundation of the American Bully. And once you're able to develop an understanding and do your research on those bloodlines, then you could really see what the American Bully is supposed to be. And most importantly, the traits it's supposed to have. It's supposed to have the big blocky head, the thick neck, the bone, the compact back. And that is something that you really need to understand, because there have been a percentage of people in our community that have been misguided going in. And unfortunately, over the course of the development of their dogs, they started doing their own research and understanding, well, oh crap, this isn't what I wanted. And now they're forced to pet home that dog and start fresh with the look that they want. And most importantly, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Do not go cheap. I'm gonna say that one more time. Do not go cheap. I see a lot of people that talk about, well, I got this dog, I want to pay $1,500 for quality. No, because what ends up happening is you're going to pay $1,500 or $1,000 for a dog just because it has pretty color. The reality is you're lacking on breed type. You get what I'm saying? And you need to understand that you have to pay for quality, but you also have to understand what quality is. I'm going to say that one more time. You have to understand what quality is. It's not color. It's the traits that the dog has. Does it hold true to the American Bully breed standard? And does it look like the American Bully? Most importantly. So do your research, because you don't want to be that person that you're a year in, a year and a half in, and you're like, oh, I got these 3 dogs and they are nothing to what you wanted because you went the cheaper route. And what ends up happening is now you got to start fresh all over again, which now it sets you back. It's no different than anything else in life. If you have to pay for something, get the best, because what ends up happening is you try to save a little bit of money. Next thing you know, a couple of months or a couple of years down the road, now you got to replace it again, and you're going to spend more money long term. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, that wraps up tip number 3. Let's get into tip number 4. So my 4th tip is going to be to learn about genetics and to study genetics, how to line breed, what is inbreeding for, How do I pull certain traits? How do I keep the bloodline open enough to be receptive of an outcross? These are things that you need to be very cognizant of when getting into breeding, because when doing this the right way, and I'm talking about people that want to do this full time, people that have their look. When you get into this realm, you have to tie in what makes your dog stand out, what makes them different. Get what I'm saying? And you need to process that, because if you're coming in and you want to run this very successful right from the rip, you need to understand, how am I going to be able to pull this out of my dog? Let's say I want a dog with a bigger head and my dog has a good head but needs a bigger head. Understanding what your strengths are to your dog and what they need. So now you have to start pairing up your matchups based off of what fits them. So let's say I want to breed my male, but I need to create a better version of him. I need to provide a female that also has his strengths, but gives him more juice. And that is something that goes completely over the heads of people in the community. People put all of the weight on the stud to save them. And I've said this in a previous video. The female is the most important part of any program, because for that stud to be able to throw some fire productions, you need to have the female to back them up. And you need to understand how to pull traits, what is too tight, right? And how to keep it open enough to be receptive to certain bloods. And most importantly, you need to understand, because I said this earlier when talking about the pedigree, you need to understand the dogs that are in that pedigree and what their looks are. You cannot produce bulls having scatterbred pedigrees, because at any point, let's say you have a dog that's got the bully look but has classic frame dogs in their ped, and you pair them up with a female that has a classic frame. There's a high chance that your dog's not going to be able to throw their look with that female because of the dogs that are in the pedigree, and that's why it is so important. And that is why you have to take the time to understand genetics and how to pull it up. So with that being said, that wraps up tip number 4. Let's get into tip number 5. So lastly, my most important tip to each and every single one of you that is still watching is to perform some self-reflecting and understand why it is you want to breed dogs in the first place. That is what your biggest thing has to be. Why do I want to breed the dogs? Because like I said earlier, this gets very expensive. If you don't have the financial flexibility and the financial obligation to be able to provide for these dogs, that will consume you very fast. That is exactly why the people that come in leave as quick as they came in, because they understand how difficult it is to be able to run a kennel and run a program, because a lot goes into it. You have to provide for these dogs. You need to have the land to take care of these dogs, to give them that mental stimulation and that outlet. You have to take time to spend with these dogs one-on-one to build that bond with them. And you have to understand also that when you bring these dogs into this world and you're building this program up, that's a commitment you're making to these dogs. There's gonna be times where you're gonna have to make heartbreaking decisions, and you're gonna have to make them. And at the end of the day, if you don't love dogs, you should not be breeding them. These are not money game. Is there money to be made? Absolutely. If you commit to it, there's a lot of money to be made if you do it the right way. I'm gonna say that one more time. There is a lot of money to be made if you do it the right way. The problem is, to do it the right way, it takes a lot of time, dedication, and a lot of hard work. And it's gonna come with a couple of heartbreaks along the way. You get what I'm saying? So understand why it is you want to do this in the first place. And once you make that decision of, I just love the dogs, and understand that it's just not all about money, that's when you're going to be able to sustain longevity in this game. And that's the biggest thing I will say to each and every single one of you, is to just understand why it is you want to be here. So with that being said, let's wrap up the video. All right, everybody, so that wraps up the video. Hope that each and every single one of you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and sub to the channel. Check off the bell notification icon to become part of the family. And with that being said, I made this video to really help each and every single one of you coming into the community. And I was fortunate. You know, when I came in, I had a dog, and you know, I didn't think all of this was gonna come about. But you know, the man up above had different plans for me, and all these things just started coming all at once. The vision, the thoughts, all of these goals, and now I'm here. And my goal here is, at the end of the day, it goes much more than me. It goes about the American Bully breed. You get what I'm saying? And we want to be able to have the best representation of the American Bully breed out there. My goal is to help a lot of you coming in to understanding that we need more quality breeders and we need more quality dogs. And I hope that each and every single one of you take this and say, well, do I want to breed this dog or do I not want to breed? And you know, at the end of the day, no harm, no foul if you want to be in the community. So with that being said, that wraps up the video. That's all I got for you, and I hope that this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on breeding and if you were able to make it throughout the whole video. With that being said, have a blessed day and we'll catch you in the next one. We're up and out of here.